In the corridors of Malibu Recovery Center in Los Angeles, a world-famous rock star had secretly slipped a whiskey bottle into his pocket out of desperation. But more importantly, no one could have predicted that the person who would stop him would be a 12-year-old child. And when that encounter took place, both the legend's and the child's lives would evolve in completely different directions. Because sometimes, in life's darkest corridors, we meet the most unexpected teachers. It was March 2023, and Ozzy Osbourne, at 74, was in what might be his final rehabilitation attempt. His Parkinson's disease was progressing day by day. His body pain had reached unbearable levels, and he had returned to his old habits. This time is really the last time, he thought as he walked down the marble corridor. But when he felt the small bottle in his pocket, his heart raced and his fingers trembled uncontrollably. He had managed to hide it even from Sharon. Walking toward his luxury room at the end of the corridor, he planned to take just one sip. "No one will notice," he muttered to himself in that familiar Birmingham accent. "Just for my pain. Just tonight." As he tried to pull out the bottle, he heard a sweet but weary voice behind him. "Are you here to secretly drink something too?" Ozzy froze, his heart pounding in his chest. When he slowly turned around, he saw a child about 12 years old with short blonde hair. There was a weariness and sadness in the child's eyes far beyond his years, as if he had lived through an adult's problems for far too long. "Excuse me, son," said Ozzy, trying to quickly put the bottle back in his pocket. But his hand movements gave everything away. The child had already seen it. "My name is Danny," said the child, leaning against the wall. "And I know my father's story very well. You're doing the same thing he does right now." Ozzy's hand froze over the bottle. How could this child speak so directly? While his peers were occupied with Pokémon cards and video games, how could this child be so mature? "I'm not sick, son," said Ozzy, but his voice wasn't convincing. "I just have pain. Parkinson's, you know. It hurts so much." Danny smiled sadly but understandingly. "My dad used to say the same thing. I'm not sick, Danny, I'm just tired. I'm just stressed. I'm just in pain." There was always the word "just" at the beginning of his sentences. The child's words hit Ozzy. How many times had he used those same words? To Sharon, to his children, to doctors. There was always a "just." "Is your father here?" he asked, genuine concern and worry in his voice. He could feel that talking to the child was distracting him, making him start to forget about that damned bottle. Danny nodded, his eyes welling up, but he didn't cry. "He's admitted to the 3rd floor. His liver failed. The doctors say it's too late. He's on the transplant list, but they won't do the transplant until he stops drinking." These words pierced Ozzy's heart. 12 years. This child had spent his entire life with an alcoholic father. "I'm sorry, son," was all he could say. "Are you here alone? Where's your mother?" "Mom is outside smoking. She always smokes now. 2 packs a day since Dad got sick." Danny leaned against the wall. Everyone's killing themselves, but in different ways. Dad with alcohol, Mum with cigarettes, and me with worry, I guess. Ozzy looked at the child and thought of his own children. Jack, Kelly, Amy. Had they felt this way too? Had they lived with the fear of losing their father? "Danny, are you angry with your dad?" he asked. This child's perspective fascinated him. The child thought for a moment, with a mature expression. "I used to be very angry. When he forgot my birthday, when he didn't come to school meetings, on the nights when Mom cried. I was so angry, but now I'm just sad, because I realized he's unhappy too. He tries to make me happy, but he can't succeed because he's unhappy himself." These words struck Ozzy like an arrow. The disappointment in his own children's eyes came to mind. "You're very smart," he said, admiration in his voice. "It's incredible that you're only 12. How can you think so maturely?" "I had to grow up," said Danny, shrugging. "When Dad became childish, I had to become the adult. Bills, housework, putting up with Mum's crying. I handled it all. I've known the bank card PIN since I was 8, because Dad forgets when he's drunk." Ozzy looked at the bottle. This child had taken on adult responsibilities at age 8. "You know what, Danny? I was once a child like you. I grew up in Birmingham, in the Aston area. My dad drank too. Every night he'd come home from the factory, and the first thing he'd do was grab his drink. Really? Danny asked. Then you understand too. That feeling of fear, the silence in the house, everyone talking to you hesitantly. Ozzy nodded. Yes, son, I know it all. And that's why it hurts me more that you're experiencing the same situation now. Because you're living through the fears I experienced as a child. Danny came closer, hope glimmering in his eyes. So why do you still drink? If you know how it felt as a child, why are you putting your own children through the same thing? The question was simple, but the answer was complex. Ozzy took a deep breath, gripping the bottle tightly. Because I'm scared, Danny. I've always been scared. Even when singing in front of thousands of people on stage. I always think, what if they don't like it? What if I disappoint them? What if I'm not good enough? My dad is always scared too, said Danny, with a meaningful look. Scared of losing his job, losing Mom, disappointing me. But when he drinks, he becomes more scared. Because then he actually loses everything. The child's words shook Ozzy deeply. Was this true? Didn't alcohol take away fear, but instead make it worse? I never thought about it like that, said Ozzy thoughtfully. Maybe you're right. Maybe when I drink, I create more fear. When my dad drinks, our house becomes silent, Danny continued, his eyes looking into the distance. Everyone whispers, watches their steps when walking, closes doors slowly, like there's a sleeping dragon in the house. Does everyone around you act like this when you drink too? Sharon's face came to Ozzy's mind. The worry in his wife's eyes, the way his children sometimes looked at him, the staff's hesitancy at home. Yes, son, exactly like that. I become a dragon too, and everyone fears me. But that's not the real you. The drunk you is different, Danny said with a compassionate look. My dad is the same way. Sober dad reads me stories, plays hide and seek with me, helps with my homework. Drunk dad yells, throws things, cries. The child's eyes filled with tears. I love my sober dad so much. I wish he was always like that. Ozzy pulled the bottle from his pocket, examining it in his hands. Small, amber-colored, innocent-looking bottle. This thing makes me a different person, Danny. When I watch myself on TV, I say, who is this guy anyway? By the way, will your father get better? He asked, with a voice mixing hope and fear. Danny shrugged. I don't know. It might be too late. The doctor said if he doesn't get a liver transplant, he has 6 months maximum. But if he doesn't stop drinking, there won't be a transplant either. It's a dead end. He paused, his eyes filling up. But you're still here. You're still breathing. You can still love your family. You can still change. The child's words filled Ozzy's eyes with tears. You speak so wisely, son. Even though you're only 12, you say smarter things than me. Watching my dad's illness made me grow up, said Danny. And I learned this. Alcohol isn't the real problem. Why you need alcohol is the real problem. Why do you really drink? You said for pain, but is that the real reason? Ozzy thought, looking within himself. Because I never felt good enough, Danny. Fame, money, fans, Grammy Awards. None of it filled that emptiness inside me. I always felt lacking. I always felt fake. My dad says the same thing, said Danny. There's an emptiness inside me, Danny. Only alcohol fills it, he says. But I asked him, don't we fill that emptiness? Aren't me and Mum enough? Then he started crying. Ozzy looked at the bottle. For more than 50 years he had been pumping poison into his body, destroying his organs, polluting his brain. Don't be sad, said Danny, approaching Ozzy. My dad also treated himself badly for years, but he's been trying to change for the last 2 months. He thought it was too late, but the doctor said, it's never too late. You can try too. I don't know how to do it, son. This habit is very old. I've been like this since the 1970s, said Ozzy. My dad didn't know either, but the doctor told him this. First step is accepting. Second step is asking for help. Third step is throwing away that bottle. Ozzy held the bottle with both hands, the amber liquid inside swaying slightly. I'm scared, Danny. I don't know how I'll live without this, how I'll go on stage, how I'll talk to people. Danny answered. My dad had asked, Who will I be without this? But the doctor told him, you'll be the real you. Don't you want to be the real you? The child's question was very clear. Ozzy said desperately, I want to, but is the real me enough? Of course you're enough, Danny said gently. What's your real self like? Ozzy thought. Those rare, sober moments drinking coffee with Sharon, really talking with his children, making music. I think my real self isn't bad, actually. Then why are you hiding it? Asked Danny. Why do you always show the drunk you to the world? The answer to this question was hidden inside Ozzy. Because maybe the real me isn't rock star enough. Not tough enough, not crazy enough. But people love you for your music, don't they? Said Danny. Didn't you write Iron Man and Mama, I'm Coming Home? Yes, I wrote them, Ozzy answered. Well, did you write them sober or drunk? Said Danny. Ozzy thought. He had actually written most of his best songs during his sober moments. I wrote most of them sober, he said. Then the real you is already good enough. You just won't accept it. Danny's logic was simple but very effective. Maybe you're right, son. You know, said Danny. Before my dad was hospitalized, he said to me, Danny, I wish I could have quit alcohol the day I first saw you. Then you would have always known me as my real self. Now you always have the drunk dad in your mind. Don't you want your children to know you as your real self too? These words broke Ozzy's heart. Jack, Kelly, Amy. Did they know him as his real self or always as his drunk version? The disappointment in Kelly's eyes, Jack keeping his distance, Amy running away from home. I want that, son. I want it so much, said Ozzy. Then drop that bottle and talk to your family tomorrow. Apologize to them. Tell them you can ask for help. Tell them you want to be the real you. Ozzy stood up. His legs were shaky, but with determined steps he walked to the trash can at the end of the corridor. Danny followed him with small steps. Are you sure? Asked the child, worry and hope mixed in his eyes. No, said Ozzy honestly, holding the bottle in his hand. But you're right. I'm using fear as an excuse, not a reason, and I don't want to hide behind excuses anymore. He stood by the trash can. Danny, if I throw this bottle away, will you tell your dad that he really needs to change? We can try together. Okay, said the child with determination. If you throw it away, I'll talk to my dad too. Deal? Deal, son. And Ozzy threw the bottle in the trash. The metallic sound echoed in the corridor. Danny clapped, his eyes shining. That's real courage. Now you're the real Ozzy, too. Ozzy turned to the child. Danny, you taught me so much today. You're my little teacher. You're 12 years old, but you're wiser than me. You taught me too, said the child. Courage is contagious. Seeing you throw away that bottle reminded me that I need to be braver with my dad, too. What do you mean? Asked Ozzy, crouching down next to the child. I'm going to talk to my dad. I won't believe his lies anymore. I'll tell him he doesn't need to drink. He needs to get better. I'll say, Dad, I want to know you as your real self. Ozzy hugged the child. You're amazing, Danny. And your dad is lucky for having such a brave son like you. That night, Ozzy couldn't sleep in his room. Danny's words kept spinning in his head. The question, don't you want to be the real you? Wouldn't leave his mind. With the first light of dawn, he called Sharon. Sharon, he said, his voice trembling but determined. We need to talk about some things. This time I'm really going to change. But I need your help. The tone of surprise and hope mixed in Sharon's voice motivated him even more. Ozzy, are you really saying this? Yes, Sharon. A child taught me how to be the real me. 3 days later, when he saw Danny again, the child was coming out of his father's room. His eyes were filled with tears, but he was smiling. Ozzy, he shouted, running over. My dad said he's been clean for 3 days today, and he talked to me. Real talk. He apologized to me and said he would try to be a real father. Ozzy said excitedly, That's wonderful, son. I also had a long talk with Sharon. I've started being honest with my family. I'm going to call Jack and Kelly too. A week later, Danny came to Ozzy's room with his father. Mike Morrison had lost weight, but his eyes were bright. His hands weren't shaking. Ozzy, he said, his voice strong. My son says I changed because of you. Thank you for giving him courage. Danny told me, Dad, If even Ozzy can change, you can change too. Mike smiled. My son sees you as an idol now. 6 months later, when Ozzy came out of rehabilitation clean, Danny's father had also completely recovered. The transplant operation was successful, and Mike could now ride bicycles with Danny. The two families came together on Malibu Beach. While watching the sunset, Danny ran to Ozzy. You know what? My dad taught me how to ride a bike last week. He really taught me this time. We didn't even fall. A year later, when Ozzy returned to performing, before his concerts he no longer drank, only had tea. Before his Birmingham concert, backstage he found a note from Danny. Ozzy, I saw you on TV. You're on stage as your real self now, and you look so much better. My dad is now my real dad too. We both won. Danny. That night on stage, while singing Mama, I'm Coming Home, Ozzy felt the song's true meaning for the first time. He was really coming home now, to his real self. And that encounter in the corridor had changed both their lives forever. Sometimes in life's darkest moments, the most unexpected teachers can lead us to the light. And sometimes a 12-year-old child can be wiser than a 74-year-old rock legend. After the concert, as Ozzy sat at home with Sharon, "You know what, Sharon?" he said. "That child gave me the most valuable lesson of my life. He taught me that I shouldn't be afraid to be the real me." Sharon smiled. "And the real you is wonderful, Ozzy. It always was."